Hey fam, so I don't know if you're from the Midwest, but I'm from the Midwest, and it comes to a point of the year where you have a metric crap ton of yellow squash or zucchini. So the nice thing about yellow squash and zucchini is that they don't have a lot of flavor to them. So what we're gonna do today is we are going to cut them up and we are going to dehydrate them. Why are we gonna dehydrate them? We're gonna go back to that flavor. Not a lot of flavor, so we're gonna make dehydrated squash and zucchini into flour, okay? So when it comes down to it, it is essentially a third of the carbohydrates of flour, and it doesn't have gluten in it. So if you're a gluten-free person, that's kind of nice. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually cutting these guys really thick. I told you about my dehydrator and how it's like the bomb. You can tell that it's well seasoned this time of the year. So I'm cutting these pretty darn thick, almost an inch thick, because they will dehydrate down within about 48 hours. So these pieces are also pretty thick, like grandma's ties. So when you're looking inside, you can actually dehydrate the seeds as well, and it's not too soft. So I'm not even gonna pull the seeds out of this. I'm just gonna dehydrate it along with the rest of the fruit. So we're gonna stick all these guys on here. The other thing about making them nice and thick is that you're gonna be able to use a lot more squash than you would if you cut them really thin. The only caveat to that is that you're gonna have to have it on dehydrator for a little bit longer. And like I said, you have to have it on for about 48 hours with this guy. I really love it. And then it gets to be really dehydrated, almost hard as a rock. So we're gonna get this on, get these dehydrated, and then we're gonna start to make some flour. All right, so after about 48 hours, you get these nice, crispy spaghetti squash, not it, zucchini and or yellow squash, okay? So we're gonna stick them in a coffee grinder. I specifically bought this coffee grinder just for this. All right, so I'm gonna stick it in there, give it a meh. Check it out. All right, so we still have a couple of chunks. I'm gonna pull the chunks out so I can put them in the next round, but essentially you've got a nice flour. So we're gonna stick our flour into a jar. So flour actually should be stored, whether it's got gluten or not in it, in the refrigerator. So I'm putting all of this flour, zucchini squash flour, inside of a jar. I'm going to be sticking it in the fridge, but I'm also going to be sticking in some silica gel. So anytime I get vitamins, anytime you buy ramen noodles, you get these little silica packets in there. Stick one of those or 2 or 3 inside there to keep all the moisture out of there. Of course, you're going to have condensation because it's in the refrigerator, but when you pull it out to make something, you're going to stick it right back in the refrigerator when you're done with it. So we're gonna keep going. We're gonna finish up this bag, these couple that I didn't get, and we are going to grind ourselves up some more flour. All right, guys, so when I fill my dehydrator, I typically get, after grinding, around 2 to 2.5 cups of flour. So I filled up my one jar, I started another one, I added my silica to the jar. When you're making this, remember it does not have gluten, so you're not going to get that sticky factor. It does have more of a grainy texture to it, but my kids still love it. We've made a few recipes. Stay tuned because we'll post some recipes that we make. You can also do this with butternut squash, pumpkin. You will taste the flavor of those squashes though, because they have a different flavor. But There's nothing wrong with that, because sometimes a great squash muffin or squash cake or bread is really, really tasty. So, or pumpkin. So stay tuned. We'll put some recipes with some of this flour on for you in the future.